Hello everybody, Paul Cradle here, back again with another banger of a video. I just wanted to let you know what I've been doing the last few days. And it isn't good. I don't feel, it's not bad, I don't feel good. My brain actually hurts, and let me tell you why. I had in mind, just for fun, as a diversion from my studying for the project management certificate, just something to work on that's art related that I could actually use for my own art. A software program, an Animator Studio as software, where you would have the frames of the cartoon and you would be able to easily create the subtle changes in the next frame based on the last frame just by nudging and smudging your pen marks from the last frame to get an animation effect. And so this is a little bit different from image manipulation, because what I would store is basically a set of instructions on how to paint that cartoon scene, how to draw that cartoon scene. So it wouldn't exactly be image manipulation like Photoshop. Okay, so it would be a little bit different. It would just be your cartoon drawings, and you would have a way to manipulate your cartoon drawings from one frame to the next to easily generate the next frame based on the last frame by smudging, without having like a photographic effect of blurring or smudging your pen marks, because the pen marks would be saved as just a set of instructions, and so you would just kind of move to draw the next frame. You would just kind of smudge the pen marks only to move them. Only the integrity of the pen would remain intact, so you wouldn't be blurring the ink or anything. You would just be altering the information to draw that stroke. So anyway, that's my idea. And what happened was I got mired down in crap because I was using AI to help me write this, and I was using Java. Java's a software development, well, it's a language. Okay, it's a computer language. Anyway, I was using Java to write the program, and using the Java GUI, graphical user interface. So anyway, I was using AI to help me do that. And let me tell you one thing, even without getting into AI first, Java uses object-oriented programming, which is itself, I think, very embarrassing, because here, I'm setting out just to have a fun hobby and just pursue a little idea to see if I can do it and just get a little satisfaction out of that, do some art, maybe even be able to use my own program to make a pretty cool little cartoon, Simpsons spin-off or something. Just make my own cartoon using an animation system that I programmed, and it would just be just a hobby, kind of like a model railroading hobby or something. And who knows, I might make a viral cartoon or something. And so what happened was I got mired down to the point with object-oriented programming where I started having to decide whether I had to start philosophizing about different kinds of brush strokes and tools, art tools. Object-oriented programming kind of operates on a hierarchy of concepts or objects where, so I had to start breaking this down in my head, which is just totally ridiculous because it takes time away from the actual project that I wanted to do. But what I did was I started having to decide, okay, there are some tools that have a color, like a brush stroke or a pencil mark, pen mark. Those have a color. So I'm going to have this base class called colored tool. Okay, and then there are some tools that have a stroke. like a brush stroke or a pen stroke. And then there are other tools that don't. They just, you click somewhere and it does, say, a bucket fill or something. So I started going through these classifications. Okay, a brush stroke. So there's going to be a tool called a brush, and it's a stroked tool. It has a stroke and it has a color. And I started having to break these things down like this, which you're supposed to do for object-oriented. And it's just embarrassing because there's this structured system that you're forced to think in that slows you down, doesn't necessarily get any better results. I mean, would it be that big of a deal if for every tool that needed a color or a stroke, I just handled that, kind of for each tool? I don't know. Maybe I'm not cut out to be a programmer, or programming is really just not that fun as a hobby. Maybe it's just not a good hobby. That's probably more like it. It's probably just not a good hobby for a project. So anyway, and then I started realizing, all I want is some controls on the left side of the screen so I can control what I want about that brush stroke, and I can change the brush stroke after the fact. So like I draw the stroke, and then I have these little slider controls and spinners and buttons and stuff on the left hand side of the screen where I can make the stroke thicker, darker, thicker, change the color, edit the color, adjust the hue, saturation value, all that I can just do, live while the stroke is there in the picture. I can just edit it on the left using the controls on the left side of the screen on the control panel on the left side of the screen to just modify it to what I want. But what I found was in Java, so Java is supposed to be this very well organized, very well with a perfectly abstracted hierarchy of the tools, of the components, the controls that you would put on your GUI. It's supposed to be highly organized. And yeah, I admit they've got a nice like a tree hierarchy structure there where they know which things are what and all that. But then it turns out if I wanted to use that practically, there is no single universal function to just get the value of a control. There is a separate one. If you want to tell if a check mark is checked, that's a different thing from being able to just get the value of a slider control. So if I want to check off, so I have a check mark that tells whether the stroke is round at the ends, and then I have a slider control that says the size of the thickness of the brush stroke. To get those two different values, whether it's checked and to get the number, those are two different functions. But all I want is the data. Why? So I went in and I had the AI go ahead, write me a function that will just return the value of any GUI component. I don't care what kind it is. I don't care if it's a slider. I don't care if it's a checkbox, radio button, combo box, whatever, spinner, whatever they have on there. I don't care what it is. Just write me one function that universally gets the value of whatever the heck it is. I don't care what it is. I just want the value of it. Just the value. And so it did. So it wrote me all these if then else things that said, okay, if it's a text field, get the text. If it's a spinner, get the value. So basically it did basically so it goes ahead and it calls whatever function is basically get value for whatever that control happens, whatever kind of control that happens to be. It gets the value of that. And that always should have been in Java. So it's making my brain hurt. Here is why we need project managers, people. Because my brain hurts. When I went in to actually start doing the code, just as a hobby, I got mired down into the rough, and I started doing more and more tedious things, and started pondering the framework, the architectural framework of the whole system, down to the roots, more and more. I even to the point where I decided to just kind of abandon the Java language as much as I could and just access the Java virtual machine from Prolog, so I could program it using the predicate logic of Prolog so as to avoid all the sprawling procedural code that there tends to be in procedural languages. Okay, but that's just another deep philosophical architectural decision that I started to make. Now, it's a good idea, but just for the animation program that I wanted to make, just for fun, it made it no fun anymore. So programming here's why we need project managers, because I think the person who has the big idea, the person with the idea, should not be the one doing the tedium. The tedia. It shouldn't work like that. Okay, I'm the one with the big idea. I'm the visionary leader of myself. Software team of one here. I'm the visionary leader. I want an animator studio that just allows me to nudge the brush strokes to create the next frame without actually photographically smearing the brush strokes. And I basically want each frame to just be a set of instructions on how to draw that frame, not an image. That's all I want. And so the reason why we need project managers is because I should be able to have a little junior developer helper or whatever. Not that I'm not that myself. I would have to start as that if I ever broke into software. I'd have to get my foot in the door, junior developer. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, but I'm not going to be a programmer because I know I'm better cut out for project management. Because, okay, before I was thinking if you wanted to get into software, you would have to get your foot in the door as a junior developer, and as you went on, you might move up. But you know what? You can just start as a project manager, and you don't have to be a junior developer. So I may be able to do project management without having to get foot in the door as a junior developer, because I have the oversight that I need to be able to just tell, okay, here, little junior developer, this is what I want. Make this toolbar in Java. I don't care how tedious it is, because I'm not going to get all philosophical and break it down. I'm not going to have to say, okay, just write me one universal function that just gets me the value of whatever control that is, because it just irritates me that it's not streamlined and organized like that. So AI, first, before I can do this project, make me that. No. I just get mired down in the weeds like that, mired in the rough. And it's almost like quicksand. The farther down you go, I'll just never get anything done. So as a project manager, I've got to be able to just say, hey, little dude, not little, I mean, I respect them and everything, but this is the tedious work for you that I want you to, not that you're not an expert, not that I don't respect you or anything, but this, to me, this is just tedious and I won't do it for that reason. Now, I consider myself more lofty. I do consider myself above that in a way that's anyway, I'm getting mired down here. See, the executive function in my brain has been severely taxed the last couple days because of this project that I took on that was supposed to be fun, that just got me mired down in low-level decision making that I shouldn't have to make. And so I've just been mired down in this stuff that I don't really want to do, that is no fun. And I feel like my social skills are down, my executive function is down, my decision making in everyday life has been down to crap. What I should be able to say is, here, guy, I don't want you to reinvent the wheel. I don't want you to make any new architectural decisions. If there's a separate function to get the different, to get the value of every different kind of control there is in Java, fine, go ahead and use that. Don't reinvent anything, just use it as is, like Java is intended you. Here you go, do this, make this toolbar for me, and then I'll use it in my software. Here, just do this and have it put the values, whenever anything changes, have it repaint this and store the values here. Whenever it loads up, get the values from here. Here, just do this for me. I don't care how tedious it is. I'm not going to try and architecturally make it less tedious. Just do this for me. I'm the project manager. If you want to make notes, a wish list of how you hope Java would be easier to make this in and less tedious, go ahead, jot it down. Maybe we'll keep that keep a record of that, and let's try to maybe save that for the architectural team as a project. But we need project managers, and I need to be saving my executive function for the higher level decisions, and so that is why software development, coding, basically coding and project management have to be separate. Because if I'm going to manage a program, and then so I'm thinking I'm going to use AI to do the coding, I'm just going to use the AI, it still is very taxing on the executive function to be dealing with the code. I would rather see project management and coding cannot mix very well in the same brain. If my brain is overseeing the project, I can't be making decisions about the code. I should barely even be looking at the code. I mean, I could understand it if I were in maybe in some cases, I might have to look at the code, so it's helpful to understand it, but I can't be making executive decisions about the code or mired down in the tedium of the code while I have an end goal and a greater purpose and meaning for the software in mind. So that's why we need project managers who are not the ones actually doing the code. And object-oriented programming sucks, but I don't care as long as I can get somebody else to do it for me to some greater end that I want. I don't care. And AI, if we think AI is going to just replace the junior developers, the entry-level positions, we got another thing coming, because if I've got to make high-level decisions, I need the workhorse work to be done by another brain. Because if I've got to get and check if I've got to communicate with the AI and have it tell me, okay, write code that will do this. I've got to communicate with the AI at the coding level. I want code like this. See, that has to be in a separate brain, in a separate human brain from the brain who is overseeing the project and deciding what he wants overall. So don't think that this AI really can just replace the developer with the tedious role. No, because tedium is going to seep upward. If you eliminate the entry level little guy and say, we don't need you because because my AI will write the code. Well, that's not putting the code and the project management into two separate brains. So it's going to tax the executive function. It's going to make a right brain thinker get mired down in the left brain tedium, and it's just not going to work, people. I don't believe in AI. I believe that we need AI, you can use it if you are doing the tedious code. You can ask the AI to write your tedious code for you, but that doesn't mean that the project oversight can be now done by the AI. This has to be in two separate brains.